My name is Hyomin Jung, and I'm a third-year medical student of University of Manchester. I'll be presenting an audit of rubeosis iridis management, which aimed to identify key areas for clinical improvement in guideline standardization. This audit was conducted with Edric Kim, a fifth-year medical student at University of Manchester, and Dr. Amy Stone, a medical ophthalmology specialist at Manchester Royal Eye Hospital. This audit was devised based on the identified variability in adherence to recommended management practices for rubeosis iridis, considering the significant clinical risks, including neovascular glaucoma, vision loss, and ocular discomfort, that make prompt management essential for optimal visual outcomes. This audit was conducted retrospectively on 56 patients at Manchester Royal Eye Hospital. Initially, 216 patients were found on slicer-dicer filtering by Macular Treatment Center and Emergency Eye Department with any form of rubeosis iridis or rubeotic glaucoma from June 2024, when new guidelines were released, until July 2025. Then the patients with previous diagnosis of either rubeosis iridis or rubeotic glaucoma, alongside those whose visual acuity was either one of hand movement, perception of light, non-perception of light, and painless, were excluded. This led to total 56 patients being included in the study, 23 of which were with normal intraocular pressure, namely IOP. 16 had an IOP between 24 and 35 millimeters mercury with normal disc. 17 had IOP above 35 millimeters mercury or cupped disc. The management of every eye with rubeosis iridis was scored as being fully compliant if all critical management steps were done, partially compliant if some critical steps were done, not compliant if none of the critical managements were done. The specific critical steps will be covered later. Overall, only 5%, which were 3 out of 56 patients, received fully compliant management. 68%, which were 38 patients, had partially compliant treatment, and managements provided to 27% of the patients, which were 15, were not compliant at all. For 23 patients with normal IOP, critical management steps include pan-retinal photocoagulation, also known as PRP, completed within 2 weeks, medical retina review within 4 weeks. In terms of the compliance, 9% of the patients received fully compliant management, and 86% received partial management. 3 cases were due to no PRP within 2 weeks, and 7 cases were due to no medical retina review within 4 weeks. 5% of the management was not compliant at all. Regarding itch management, 57%, which is 13 out of 23 patients, did not receive PRP within 2 weeks. 6 of 14 patients who did not receive medical retina follow-up in 4 weeks were booked in more than 6 weeks after. This is important as IOP may not be as well controlled as perceived, considering 13% in delayed medical retina follow-up had IOP above 21 millimeters mercury. As for the patients with IOP between 23 and 35 millimeters mercury and normal disc, which was 16 patients, critical management steps include antihypertensive administration, prescription of atropine 1% and Predforte 1% eye drops, Avastin within 24 hours, PRP within 2 weeks, request for urgent glaucoma review within 4 weeks, and medical retina or macular treatment center review within 4 weeks. As for the compliance, none of the managements provided were fully compliant. 94% of the patients received managements only partially compliant, and 6% of the treatment provided was not compliant at all. About each management step, in terms of administering the medications, omission occurred in more than 50% of patients across all medication categories, which were antihypertensive, atropine, and Predforte. 63% of the patients didn't get Avastin within 24 hours. Sometimes it wasn't requested at all, and often they were referred to medical retina follow-up from emergency eye department with the view for them to make call for Avastin instead of starting it promptly. leading to an average delay of 3.6 days. Regarding PRP, 75% patients did not receive the procedure within 2 weeks, 6 of which not being booked in for PRP at all. None of the patients received glaucoma review within 4 weeks. The request was made for 11 out of 16 patients, with only 4 times marked as urgent. Average number of days took for glaucoma to review patient from them presenting was 53.2 days, or roughly 7 weeks. Similarly, zero patients received medical retina review within 4 weeks. Out of 13 requests that were made, only 6 times were marked as urgent. Average number of days for medical retina to see patients was 66 days, or roughly 9 weeks. Interesting to note, however, despite long waiting time, IOP was only over 35 millimeters mercury in 1 out of 16 times, which is a threshold for further management according to current guidelines. Regarding the management for the patients with IOP over 35 millimeters mercury or cupped disc, which was 17 patients, critical management steps include apraclonidine administration, Diamox administration either via oral route if IOP is under 40 millimeters mercury, or through IV if IOP is over 40 millimeters mercury. Then, based on the IOP checked after 1 hour of administering apraclonidine or Diamox, if IOP is under 40 millimeters mercury, Avastin within 24 hours, topical medication prescriptions, and PRP within 2 weeks is recommended. And if IOP is over 40 millimeters mercury, informing glaucoma fellow on the same day for urgent cycle diode is advised. Regarding the compliance, 6% received fully compliant treatment, 76% were managed with partially compliant treatment, and management provided for 18% of the patients who were not compliant to the guidelines at all. About each management step, apraclonidine was not given to 29% of the patients, which was 5 out of 17 patients. Along with the omission of Diamox in 3 patients, out of 14 patients who actually received the medication, 4 patients were given Diamox via wrong route. They received orally instead of IV route. Moreover, IOP check after 1 hour was often either not recorded or done at wrong time, which led to 4 omissions in the documentation. In terms of the management pathway for those with IOP under 40 millimeters mercury, which were 3 patients, none of them received Avastin within 24 hours and PRP within 2 weeks. As for informing same-day glaucoma fellow review for the patients with IOP over 40 millimeters mercury, which were 4 patients, only 1 out of 4 received cyclodiode on the same day, which made 75% of the patients receiving suboptimal glaucoma referral. In conclusion, this audit underscored critical gaps in adherence to established guidelines for managing rubeosis iridis in the UK, and emphasized the necessity for universally applicable, standardized guidelines informed by evidence-based medicine. Also, recommendations were identified to support more consistent, high-quality care for patients with rubeosis iridis. First, the development of a structured proforma was suggested to reduce omission of clinically relevant information that may influence management, such as documentation of IOP after Avastin administration, which was sometimes poorly documented. Second, revision of the guidelines was proposed to improve clarity and simplicity, as certain areas can be difficult to interpret in practice. For instance, there was an uncertainty about choosing the appropriate pathway for IOP under 35 millimeters mercury, but with cupping. Lastly, validating current management guidelines and seeing if guidelines are too strict was suggested, as oftentimes things were requested, just not done in time guidelines want. And even when things don't go well, oftentimes on follow-up, IOP was fine. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.